Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. Today, they're in the captain's chair because they're going to be driving this episode. We got Simon, Bray, and Steven Reid, our UK connection. Good afternoon, fellas. It's very early by me, but you just crossed over into afternoon territory, as I was just informed. So today, this is part 2 of our look at the catalog of Status Quo. Last week, you got the good. Today, you got the bad and the ugly. So Simon and Steven have assembled their, 10 least favorite Status Quo albums. And Steven, you always do such a good job of introducing these episodes. I don't know if you have anything to say before we get going in the ranking here.
Well, keeping me quiet is usually the problem, Peter. I do, and it's interesting. I kind of thought we've done the history, and I don't know about Simon, but we're still going to cover quite a wide period of time with some of these lists. But what was interesting was the comments underneath when we ranked the top 10s, because there's such a wide and varied idea of what good quo is, and therefore what bad quo will be, that we're going to upset some people. Now, already some people have taken umbrage at the fact that we're going to do a hatchet job. Somebody will know who I'm quoting from the comments there. This is not, well, certainly from my point of view, this is not a hatchet job. And the amount that I brought for show and tell hopefully will illustrate that I have a lot of affection for the rubbish that Status Quo have released over the years, okay? And there has been a lot of rubbish that Status Quo have released over the years. Now, we may not all agree on what that rubbish is. And some people I know for a fact will take umbrage at some of the things that we've chosen. Good, because that's what this is all about. You know, we can't agree. We can't all say that every era of this band are good. So, you know, we'll take it from there. Quo are legendary. We covered the history in the previous episode, so I'm not going to go over that again. I got a funny feeling we may focus in on distinct periods of the band this time round. And I think hopefully we'll illustrate there's quite a lot of reasons for that as well.
They are an institution, and institutions A, last a long while, and B, ebb and flow. Yeah. And there's a definite ebb and flow within the work of the Quo. And, yes, you know, at the moment with Backbone, I think on quite a high, but they went through, in my opinion, real lows, some real lows. But you would do since you've had 30 odd albums. You know? Yeah. And last week we did 10 really good albums, and we struggled to fit 10 in. So there are a lot of good albums, and I think even the terrible ones have got merit. You know, there's stuff on there that you think, oh, that's really good. I could do without that.
Yeah, it was interesting putting this together, because normally when we do these rankings, the hard bit is choosing the best albums. That's the hard bit. You kind of think, well, do you know what? Maybe I've got a number one. And then after that, I mean, certainly with Quo, I found the top 5 or 6 thoroughly interchangeable, because they're so good. There's so many strengths. There's so much good music on there. But I could happily have done a top 15 and raved about all of them. So there's lots of great stuff on this, in this catalogue. However, I found putting this list together equally difficult. Not because it's all crap, but because most of it, not all of it, in my opinion, has merit. And there's great fun along the way. And I think also, more than most bands, this really, I think, emphasizes the journey and the struggles that even successful bands have to go through, and the pressures that are put on them to do certain things, that explain an awful lot of why we kind of go, why did they do that? Well, maybe they didn't really want to. I think with some of this they did, though. So it's going to be good fun.
I think any band that has a 50+ year career, you're going to have this sort of thing, right? It's inevitable. 30+ albums, 50+ years, lineup changes, periods of inactivity, periods where they were really busy. You're going to have the great and you're going to have the not so great. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? So,
yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys have come up with here. So, Simon, why don't you kick us off with, I guess, your number 10 or whatever, however you guys are doing this.
Well, why don't I go first? Yes, indeed. What you're going to find is with my 10 and 9 that I've kind of cheated and done some grouping together of things. Yeah, pull your face, my friend. And my number 10 /9, /10, 210, picturesque match-stickable messages from the status quo. I think we established, that's the jobby. I think we established, last week, that Simon doesn't like psychedelia. Just no, and that 60s kind of pop. Not a huge fan of. Don't leave, Stephen. Stephen, come back. Because I'm sorry. Please. Oh, there you go.
That didn't happen. I'm more organized.
Scared him away already.
And it's just not the bag I'm into. But it is a Quo album. This and Spare Parts, the second one, they are Quo albums. They're just not Quo albums, if that makes sense. But what it does show us is that one of the main sticks that beats the Quo over the head is they only know 3 chords and it's the same stuff over and over again. And actually, that's really lazy and not even in the remotest bit true. They might be scene stealers. They might jump from gimmick to gimmick, and I think that is absolutely the case. But they're not. There's a varied amount of stuff within the Quo's repertoire, but the first 2 albums, Spare Parts, which I've never actually seen. There you go. I've never seen it, not once, not ever. Not even in bargain basement, so I can't comment on it. The whole late 60s thing, no. For me, they started a couple of years later. That said, some of it's quite actually exotic and okay. Ice in the Sun's definitely okay, but I'm waiting for later years to hit the Quo train, as it were. That's my 10.
Yes, more on some of that later, not all of it, though, to be fair. So my number 10 is quite similar, but totally different, because as Simon's just mentioned, there's actually much more variety in the Quo catalogue than most people give them any credit for. And I actually really like the album that's number 10, but it's not a Quo album. I mean, it's Quo. Okay, so my number 10 is Ain't Complaining. Okay, so I really like Ain't Complaining, but it sounds nothing really like Status Quo. This is an AOR album. This is a UK AOR album is what this is. And if this had been released by somebody else, it might have had a chance. If it also has better keyboard sounds, it might have had a chance. And that's going to be a theme for me, because Andy Bowen, who's the keyboard player, who by this stage is now an official member of the band, as you can see from the japing that's happening on the cover here, and the atrocious beard that Rick Parfitt was sporting at the time. He's a very talented chap. He's written some great songs. He's a fantastic piano player. But let him loose with some keyboard sounds, and they tend to go and ha, and it turns into party music. And by party music, I don't mean, we're going to have a good time here. I mean pass the parcel. I mean the sort of stuff that kids do, musical statues to. And that is an issue for me across an awful lot of this catalogue. So Ain't Complaining is really good, but it sounds nothing like Status Quo. It's almost a misnomer. It doesn't sound like Quo very much at all, although some of the singles do. And as I mentioned in the last show, whoever chose the singles, label, management, band, do a fantastic job. They do an absolutely brilliant job, because they always, nearly always, but 99% of the time choose the best 2 or 3 moments from an album and say, that's what this album is. And it really isn't. And that's still quite clever, because even as I go further into this list, some of the singles are brilliant, but the albums, not so brilliant. So my number 10's Ain't Complaining. And yeah, this is a favourite of some people. I can understand why. It's one of these albums I put on and then think, I actually really quite like this, but I never think about it as Status Quo. So there's my number 10.
I feel like there's going to be more about that album much later on.
There might be.
I really do. Anyway, let's go to number 9. And once again, I'm doing a little bit of cheating. I'm not going to cheat when it comes to the covers albums, because I've got stuff to say about all those.
I knew that was coming.
if they're further up, and who knows if they will be, there'll be more stuff on that. But I would like to take the acoustic albums out to the back and give them a good kicking. Both of them. I really, really would. That said, they sold by the barrel load in this country, didn't they?
Yep, they were very popular indeed.
Yeah, very, very popular. It's another example of the Quo jumping on a bandwagon, but about 20 years too late, because MTV Unplugged, it was Neil Young was 1990s kind of thing, wasn't it? You know what I mean? And then 20, nearly 30 years later, the Quo go, wow, we'll have some of that, but not just one acoustic album, and not just really two acoustic albums, but why not have an acoustic live album as well?
I don't have that.
Down, and apparently dignified. Just why? Why?
And Steven, could you hold up the one with the two of them on there shirtless with the? I mean,
I had to bring that in close because I thought if anyone hasn't seen these covers, I mean,
that's another why right there.
That's quite a nice cover, and it's quite a nice package in actual fact. No pun intended on the package when you see this.
But that is just. I mean, somebody has seen the Anvil movie, haven't they? The same cover. Yeah. Bandwagon jumping. Is it acoustic too? That's a fact. Is it really?
Yes. Yep.
Is it really? Well, what? No. I mean, they must have sat around and thought, we really need an acoustic version of Jam Side Down. That's what the world requires at this point. I guess
they were figuring 50 years. I mean, we haven't done it yet. We got to do something.
Absolutely. Roll over, lay down. That needs the acoustic treatment. Is Pete dying? No. Oh, he's back.
He's had enough already.
Let the doggy out. Let the dog. My dog has had enough of this status quo talk. She's like, I'm done with this.
Backwards. I mean, no, it just doesn't. No. What was wrong with it first time? No, just the entire thing, as we might possibly find out, the Quo jump on everything. Acoustic record, check. Covers album, check. Film. Again, there'll be more on that later. But number 9, the whole acoustic situation. No.
See, I don't mind those albums. I mean, they're terrible.
It's fine.
There became a period where, and this is something that really rankles for me. Anyone that's watched part 1 will hopefully understand that the Quo mean a lot to me. They were my gateway into heavy rock. No two ways about it. But there became a moment, and it kind of appears every now and again, where the main two guys, Francis and Rick, kind of thought, well, let's laugh along with everybody. That's a dangerous game to play because most people are not laughing with you. Mm. And it's covers like the one that we see on acoustic that you think somebody somewhere thought, that's hilarious. And then the album came out. So for my number 9, I'm going to upset more people. Because as I'm proudly wearing this is the era of Quo that most people in their lists, the Frantic 4 era, that's where it is, that's where it's at. But not everything in that era is brilliant. I'm happy to admit that if you can't stand the heat, other than some great singles, it's not very good. Now, again and again, that's a great song. And I can hear it again and again. It's that good. And I listened to this a lot when I was young. And I listen to it now and think, why did I listen to this a lot when I was young? Because it doesn't really stack up. Accident Prone's nice. Nice. That's a Simon word. I'm already kind of platitudes. Nice. But this thing, I mean, Alan Lancaster, who I showed a lot of love for in part 1. I mean, stones in my hair, stones in my hair. I'm just, and when I go back to this now, I always think, I mean, you see the band here, look, that's classic, it's iconic. It's the boogie, And this album doesn't do that. And same again, bloody well keyboards. The keyboards aren't just a theme post the end of the road and then the reformation. They've already infiltrated at this stage. Andy Bone is already part of the band. And I'm sorry, Andy. Andy's a really talented guy. He's not the problem with Status Quo. Whoever allowed these sounds to happen is the problem with Status Quo. Because Andy's a really talented chap. But produced by Pip Williams. There's the problem. That's the issue that's here. So yeah, a lot of people like this. It's probably in a lot of people's top 10 out of a 33 album catalogue. Doesn't cut the mustard for me these days. So if you can't stand the heat, is my number 9.
Really an album cover though.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah. That's really cool. Let's put the needle on that electric gas range, right? Yes.
Yeah. Love it. I mean, it holds a lot of special memories for me, and then I put it on now and think, let's keep the memories and not bother with much else.
Yeah. Shall I do my number 8? Because I'm in frantic form mode as well. I think. Okay, no, I'm not really, because I think Coghlan had gone by this point. 1982. Just because I remember this coming out, and they did that concert, didn't they? That with Prince Charles, and they were absolutely everywhere. And I think this is where they kind of begin to slip and slide towards mainstream Blandola. It's just
Blandola.
It's just like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just inoffensive and pedestrian, and it's all right. You know what I mean? It's not a terrible record, but you put it on and you don't think, I'll put that one on again. You know, and with the ones that we were talking about last week, you think, yeah, I can listen to that over and over again all the time. That's just fantastic. With this one, you know, there's just not much going on. It's just
good singles.
Yeah. Well, Dear John.
Dear John's good. Yeah.
I really think that would have been better in a kind of like acoustic kind of. Oh yeah, they did that, didn't they? Yeah. Again, you know, that's good. And you know, so you remember that. You know, and remember, it was all over the show. You know, the core singles were absolutely everywhere, weren't they? In the UK, they really were. But as an actual album, this one just. Meh. And actually, don't Fool Me this on this one. That was a single, wasn't it? I did nothing. That was kind of unheard of at the time, wasn't it? You know.
I have a copy somewhere here. I've got so much for show and tell. I'm beginning to even already lose what I've actually got put out. Yeah. And I don't think it came in a picture sleeve, and by that stage, that was almost like the record label kind of going.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned that the Quo were on Top of the Pops a lot. I don't know if. No.
I think the problem was actually getting them out of the studio. I think they lived there for the period of time.
Yeah. So anyway, 1982.
Now,
it's not terrible.
Simon, we didn't speak about this prior. We have not discussed this at all, but you are doing a fantastic job of choosing the ones that I couldn't squeeze into this 10.
I'm here to help.
So it is that I'm really pleased, because the acoustic ones I kind of went, nah, you know, fluff. I'm not going to put them in. They deserve to be there, but I'm not. Thank you. Okay.
Happy to help. It's what I do.
But for a bit of spoilers, this is not in mine. But everything Simon has just mentioned about it is absolutely spot on. And I'm keep holding it here because this band have a great logo. Why is it not on the front of this album? Why? Why would you do that? Why are they trying to already kind of say, that's not who we are anymore? That's what I feel this is a kind of statement of, and it really upsets me.
Can they make that cover any worse as it is? I mean,
yeah. I mean, there is like an embossed that you just cannot see here. XX for 20. Okay, so because
wasn't it 20 years since Rossi and Lancaster met, and it was 1 + 9 + 2 + 8.
There are little pluses in here. Okay, so 1 + 9 + 8 + 2 equals, and then in a little triangle and embossed that you're never going to pick up in this light, there is an XX. So it's much cleverer than we thought. It's shite. But there you go. Yeah. Actually quite a lot of thought went into that terrible album cover.
It seems it, yeah. The end result, though, to the naked eye is like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's bring things almost up to date. Now, I have a funny feeling that this may feature slightly higher or lower on Simon's list. But this album makes me smile. Now, it makes me smile for all the wrong reasons. Okay? Some of the right reasons, but mainly all the wrong reasons. And that is Quo. Okay, so this is another one of these where I think we're meant to be laughing along with the band. Okay, so supposedly the story goes that Quo were offered the chance to make a film. They supposedly star in this film. I haven't seen it. I probably would like to. Okay, but this is apparently, it would appear, kind of, sort of, maybe not quite the soundtrack to that album. But it is also an album in its own right. I mean, it's a double album, okay? So this too has got lots of things that you think, well, okay, you know, I really need to hear Living on an Island Fiji style. I really don't do it. I mean, I really don't. Okay, but that kind of, I mean, there's some sort of money heist sort of thing happening here, and they have the money, they lose the money, they get chased for the money, there's guns, there's all that kind of, it sounds terrible. That bad, I really probably would like to see it. Okay, so, I mean, you've got Looking Out for Caroline. What kind of, this is like Caroline. It's not like Caroline, okay? You've got Go, 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 Get Me Out of Here. That is so rubbish, it's great. And I can't help but sing along with it. It's just, it's catchy and it's terrible, okay? I mean...
As we say on the Monsters Den when we talk about really bad horror movies, it's so bad it's good, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if it quite qualifies for that. Do you know? I mean, there's Fiji time on this, okay? So it's themed for the film. I presume that's where they were being chased, guns, money, nonsense, okay? But that is just, I mean, if anybody wants Quo done reggae, and nobody wants Quo done reggae, then Fiji time is what you should avoid for all you're worth, okay? I mean, I'm talking like this album should be much lower, stroke higher on this list. But any album that can make me go, a bowl, quo, a bowl, quo, a bowl, quo, a bowl, quo, for at least an hour and a half after I've heard it, must have something going for it. What that is, I don't know. But a bowl, quo does that for me. It's utter stupidity, but if I put it on, the whole family kind of go, and we sing along like idiots, intentionally like idiots, but like idiots to it. So Quo is a manufactured piece of fluff for a film that nobody's ever seen, that they couldn't say no to because they want to star in the film. The music on it is hackneyed and terrible. I don't mind it. More about that later, Simon, yes?
I would. And what I was looking around for when you were doing the whole just do the Quo thing again.
A bowl, quo. A bowl, quo.
I was looking for something to smash my laptop.
Tell me where you want me to stop. No, you want me to stop? No.
I want you to stop. I want you to never do that again. Ever.
I was doing that in the house by myself yesterday when I was listening to this again.
And his family, promptly left the house, right?
Oh, there was nobody in at that stage. They knew what was coming.
There you go.
Everybody had already left. I mean, I did actually write down that some of it's quite good too. It's not really.
And what year was that?
This is 2013. I mean, there's a lot of, as Simon mentioned in the last show, he put Backbone in his top 10. Backbone's a good album. You know, I don't love it, certainly don't hate it. And I could put it on thinking, okay, quite like this. But an awful lot of what's happened in the last little while is questionable, very questionable.
You know how I like to, when I'm firming up my choices, I tend to do it in the car. Well, when Bula Quo comes on, do not do it. Do not. You do it in the house by yourself. I try and find a tree to drive into. I do. But like I said, there will be more. There will be more on that album later. There will. Yeah.
On that later.
Yeah. Should I go to my next one? I feel like I should. Yeah. My next one, sticking very much in frantic four mode, is back to back. Yeah. Just no. Back to, well, we're not obviously in frantic four mode, but I mean, just moving away from that. Just again, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Just you said they picked the singles well, and clearly they do, because there were some big hits from back to back. There's Old Rag Blues, Massive Blues, which is an Elvis cover. There was the absolutely awful Going Downtown Tonight. With you talk about the keyboards, and like go, and you go, no, make it stop. But it hit the top 20, didn't it? But it is also the album that holds Margarita Time. No, Stephen, no. And I think isn't that what kind of really wound Alan Lancaster up? Because rightfully, he spotted that that's not a very good song. But massive hit, really, really big hit, enormous hit. Just it was absolutely unmissable when it came out. Did he not? I think. Did he not do the Top of the Pops thing? He wouldn't go on and perform it. Was that Margarita Time? Because he was replaced by the dummy for Rocking All Over the World, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, yes. I thought that's where you were going with that story. Yes. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know that story, Alan lived in Australia for most of the latter part. The latter part, 20, 30 years. He lived in Australia, maybe longer than that. So yes, he refused to come back for a Top of the Pop show to do Rocking All Over the World. And the band then decided they were just going to go and do that show anyway, but they didn't do it without Alan. They did it with a full-size stuffed dummy of Alan. I kid you not, the footage is out there, everybody. But yes, I think he did refuse to make any effort to ever actually perform Margarita Time, because it's phenomenal. Lay bad.
Yeah, and I think this is an album that sounds like of a band that's turned itself in more than one direction, and in fact, One Direction might be preferable to listen to some of this.
But what's interesting for me is that here you have this band, this UK institution, as you said, who are just whatever they release as a single does really well. Even though you may have kind of pissed off part of the fan base, the loyal fan base that was around from the beginning, people had just eaten this shit up, right? Sounds like.
They weren't losing favorites at that stage. I mean, they could do, in the eyes of the masses, they could do no wrong more than anything else at that stage. And yeah, I mean, my number 7 is back to back. So yeah, Coughlin's gone by this stage. He was gone from 1982. And then into back to back, you've got Pete Kircher on drums, who I don't know much about. I have looked and kind of never really found out a great deal. He was in a few bands beforehand. He was more of a rock and roll sort of guy than anything else. And he does a decent job of the Quo boogie, but it's falling apart by this stage. Clearly nobody's agreeing on what the band want to be, because the singles, A Mess of Blues, it's okay, it's not bad. All Rye Blues, that's really quite good. Then you've got Margarita Time, which was huge for all the wrong reasons. And I think that the housewives loved it. It's a bit of swing sort of nonsense. It's terrible. It's what it is.
I need to go listen to this song now.
You've never heard Margarita Song?
Not. Oh, wow, you're in for some fun, Peter. Yeah, and we'll maybe put into context why there wasn't much agreement about very much from this point on until they reformed and didn't tell Alan, which is what happened realistically. And I mean, Simon's hit the nail on the head. Going Downtown Tonight, and the fact that this would appear to have been not loved. This has been stood on, and I have a lot of Quo. I've got a lot of Quo stuff, and this has not been loved. This is a terrible song. But that's not guitars, it's all keyboards. I mean, this one even tells you that it's a new version. This is a new version. It's still terrible. why bother? But the rest of the album is just so beige. I mean, things like Too Close to the Ground. It's, I don't know what was happening here, but it wasn't very status quo. Back to back, a couple of good songs. We're in a stage now where I'm beginning to struggle to really like very much on these albums. And this is when, realistically, this is when I got into this band. This was like the last album they released before I started buying all the stuff as it was coming out. Because what had come before was excellent up until a point. But what comes after?
What is that, mid-80s, that one?
This is 1983.
Oh, so that's the one right after the 82 album. Okay.
So 82, then this. Then realistically, End of the Road. So the End of the Road tour. So they split. They officially say, no more. That's it. We're done. We're out of here. Go, get me out of here. No. And they were never going to be a band ever again until Mr. Geldof gave them a phone and said, do you know, there's one song I want to open Live Aid with. So you're going to have to be there, guys. And they did the right thing, and it was the right thing. And they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant at Live Aid. Phenomenal. And that then kick-started an era of the band that is going to be spoken about in a bit. So that's also my number 7. There you go.
Cool.
I'm kind of. Am I up to 6?
Yeah, 6.
Yep.
I might have done that thing where I move things around. Yes. So let's step into covers territory, shall we? Because the Quo went through a period of doing so many covers albums. I'm going to go with 6. Big decision. I'm going to go with Don't Stop. Please stop. I mean, other ranking channels and other ranking shows are out there, and there's an awful lot of uncritical people out there, and that's fine. But with the best one in the world, this is not a good record by any stretch of the imagination. It's just whoever thought. And I might say this again with other cover albums. Whoever thought, do you know what we really need? We need to quoify some of these songs. The Safety Dance by wasn't Men at Work, was it? Who was it? Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, but you can dance if you want to. Chug it. No.
Was that Men Without Hats or what?
That's the one. Yeah, because they had so many hits, didn't they? Yeah. All Around My Hat with Maddie Pryor. Oh, just no. What? Why? What? All around my chugger. And whoever. Before I get to the real problem with this, does anybody need other versions of Proud Mary, Lucille, You Never Can Tell? Does anybody need that? Anybody?
We've seen it.
I can confirm that nobody in Accrington needs one. Absolutely nobody. But the utter worst thing about this is the version of Fun with the Beach Boys. It's not fun. It's just sad. And if you really want to see how sad it is, there's a clip of the Quo and the Beach Boys. I think it's on Des O'Connor, and Brian Wilson looks like, what the fuck am I doing here? I probably don't know because I'm at my tree, but just wow, that's. It was actually the Beach Boys at that point. Most of it wasn't Mike Love's Beach Boys. It was actually the key members of the Beach Boys, and just like they were at the back going fun, and at the front the Quo going chugga fun, and it's just awful. I'm going to refer to my notes here. Chugga lazy shit. At the risk of being a Sunday morning footballer, the Quo better than that. They're better. They're better than all this, and worse cover albums are available, as we're about to find out. Oh yeah, Oh yeah.
I mean, much more about that album later. But I would go as far as to say the Beach Boys are better than that. How that conversation went down, I've no idea. You sit down with the Beach Boys, who have had some tough times. Don't get me wrong; they're not revered in the way, other than a couple of albums that arguably they should be.
Mm.
But you sit them down and you think, we're going to take one of your biggest hits. We're going to do a video for it. You guys are going to stand in the video, but you're going to stand way back there. Way back. Honestly, in that darkness back there is still floor. You will not fall off the back. Okay, but keep going. And we're going to bring the camera to you twice, something like that in the entire video. But in the process, we're going to kill one of your biggest songs. Absolutely, utterly kill it. And we'd like you to sing backing vocals on it. We'd like you to sing backing vocals on your own song as we murder it.
And they were thinking, gee, where do I sign? Yes.
Absolutely. Well, where do you say? At the table way back there. That's where you sign. It's one of those things you think, I mean, somebody agreed to that and then they showed up. Because you think, yeah, I mean, surely that's a manager kind of going, oh, yeah, bound to be a hit. I'll put their name down for that. And then the band didn't go, not a chance. But more about that album later.
And did I see it correctly? On the cover of that CD, they don't even have their logo on there.
More about that later, Peter.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah.
More about that later.
I did see that correctly, all right.
More about that later, yes, because I've got a whole thing about the covers albums. Okay.
I do think, interjecting, that as the albums went on, the covers became more and more about just the two of them, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
And the band was the two of them. And when they appeared on the Breakfast Sofas, it was just Rossi and Perfect. Yeah, that is an awful cover.
And this actually isn't in my 10. I don't actually mind.
It's not in mine, but it's an awful cover.
It's an awful cover. However, this is not the cover the band chose.
Mm.
Okay, if you go and find, I think the reissue has more than one cover. I wonder if it's actually inside this. No, maybe not. The idea for the album cover is a bent fork, like Uri Geller, if he's a thing anywhere outside of the UK that puts up with a shtick like that. Where it was bent, it had been under the influence. And that was the album cover that was meant to be on it. It's just quite stark. It's white with Status Quo in the corner and just this kind of fuzzed out bent fork. It's not in the package at all. I thought it might be. It's an okay cover, and at least there's some kind of thought about it in some shape or form. But the record label went, no, under the influence. You guys can have a bar, you have a pub.
Yeah, it's a pub under the influence, get it?
We'll put you on the sign, and the band hate it. The band absolutely hate this, to be fair. Rossi and Perfect don't like this.
I mean, so, you had to assume that they focus grouped it and everything else that, you know, big record labels do these in. Some people went, God, that's a really good idea, because it's a bit like a pub and they're under the influence.
Yeah, but I mean, if you took it to the pub at about, I don't know, 11:15 at night, you'd go, yeah, that's great. That's where the focus group must have been. Because, I mean, Blandola, it's so poor. And same again, it's easy to go, oh, Quo didn't care. They really didn't care. They didn't want that at all, to be fair. So yeah, lots of pressures outside the band that are forcing these things to happen on one of the biggest institutional bands that we've had in the UK. It's fascinating as they get to this era that they don't appear to be always in control of their own destiny. And that's a real theme for me as we go through this. So my number 6 isn't quite as offensive even as some of the stuff I've spoken about. It's Perfect Remedy. It's not a perfect remedy. That's quite a nice cover.
It certainly is, yeah.
You know, and it's got the logo. And it starts off with Little Dreamer, which is all right, Quo. It kind of goes, we're trying to be status quo. That's what it says. And then you've got Heart on Hold. We've got my heart on hold. Freeze frame. It's so kind of AOR. I really quite like it. But then the album just goes, it's so bad. I mean, we've spoken about Margarita Time. Okay. I mean, there's 2 songs on here, Going Down for the First Time and Address Book, that are like Margarita Time, but lazier. They're actually the same sort of doon, doon, da-doon, doon, da-doon. It's so lazy. It's unbelievable. It's just awful. I mean, the power of rock, It's a power ballad. Quo do power ballad. I don't like this. Really don't like it. It's not as offensive as some of this stuff, but it's just, this is the lazy album for me. I can excuse some of the stuff that's actually lower on my list because I do feel that there's pressure getting put on to do certain things. I actually think this is a Status Quo album. It's bloody rubbish. There you go. So Perfect Remedy from 1989. Album number 19, by the way.
Wow.
I was going to put that in and probably left it at about 11 because I like the first 2 or 3.
Yeah, it is quite strong at the start, but it absolutely dives off from there.
Yeah, it does indeed. Hey, 5. I'm still in cover mode. Famous in the Last Century. Look, can you see? Look, can you get it? There's like someone's been playing with their Adobe Premiere, haven't they, at this point? And jeez, but and it's almost it's almost like the Quo flexed in their efforts as well on that one. You see what I did? A little technological joke there. I'm very pleased with myself. Yeah. But again, who needs chugga chugga lazy versions of old time rock and roll? I mean, the hits, the Bob Seger hit, that's a cover. So it's a cover of a cover. Rave On, Buddy Holly in a Quo style. No. Roll Over Bit, no. Sweet Home Chicago, Jesus Christ! You listen to Robert Johnson, you think, God, that's stark and scary, isn't it? Wow! Listen, just that man and his guitar, and oh my God! You listen to the Quo and you think, well, that's amongst the blandest things I've ever heard. Hound Dog. Wow! Breath of Rock and Roll. Elvis Presley was so, he couldn't even been filmed from the waist up, and Hound Dog now sounds like. No. Once Bitten, Twice Shy. It's a cover of a cover. Money. If you can't do better than Billy Idol, don't do it. I'm just saying. This could have been my number 1, which tells us something about what's coming up.
Exactly.
But I do want to reiterate that I love the Quo. They're awesome. They're great. But it's like having children, isn't it? I can slag them off. But if somebody walked down the street and walked up and says, "I'm Status Quo," I think, not my friend. Yeah, especially not between 1971 and 1981. They're really good. But it's because of what came before that these are so mostly disappointing.
I hope that anyone, the love and affection that we're both showing for albums that we really quite dislike here, and also maybe not quite in Simon's case, but the amount of Quo rubbish that I'm surrounded by, and the amount of stuff this must have bought them, hopefully illustrates that I kept the faith through all of this. So this is not me going back and going, well, they were shite, so I just ignored them. I didn't. I bought all of this as it came out, the latter stuff. Obviously not the other stuff. Obviously not.
And you've kept it all.
And I kept it all. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they mean too much. I couldn't break up my Quo collection. There are some bands out there you think, I don't really need some of the singles and things. As the years have gone by, I have parted with CD singles and I have parted with some of the 7-inch singles because I'm never going to play them again with some of them. And I can't do that with certain bands. And the Quo are one of those bands. But there is, and I'm going to show some of it because some of it's really downright terrible and it doesn't actually fall into the albums. So I'm going to be a little indulgent later on because I think they're quite important. But also some of them are quite successful. But there you go. So my number 5 goes back to an album that Simon's already spoken about. So this is Spare Parts. This is the second album. I think we're actually Status Quo by this stage, not the Status Quo, because Pictures was Status Quo. Pictures of Matchstick Men was the Status Quo. Spare Parts, I think, is Status Quo according to this. But this is a much further down the line Castle Classic reissue. And as Simon mentioned, I've never seen an original of this. So it is quite rare. I would imagine if you can find a real one, I probably would buy it. Okay. And the reason that I rank this one in the not Pictures of Matchstick Men or Pictures Matchstickable Messages, Picturesque Matchstickable Messages is the first one, is because the 2 singles on that, Pictures of Matchstick Men, which was a hit, top 10 hit, I think, in the UK. It's all right. It's not bad. And Ice in the Sun, which I don't think they wrote, I really like that song. I think it still stands up. And the album feels like a band. Yeah, they're being guided. They're kind of being maybe shown this is the scene, this is what you should be doing. But by the time we get the spare parts, we're writing an awful lot of our own music now. And we are forming songwriting partnerships with people that go on to write some phenomenal songs. And none of them are on here. It's just so insipid that I really struggle to get through this album from start to finish. It's the sound of a band that are floundering and then don't really seem to be believing in what they're actually making. It is to me. It's psychedelic pop. There's quite a lot of brass on it, which is a bit needless. It's almost like they're trying to kind of go, we could be something, but they're pulling kind of areas from all of the scene at that time, the late 60s, and just kind of mashing it together. And I don't think that the album title was meant to be kind of, an illustration of what's on here, but that's exactly what it sounds like. It's so downbeat. There's no hints of what will come, because Mark Kelly's Greasy Spoon is what comes after here. There's absolutely not a hint that this is where the band are heading. And yeah, I've very little affection for this album. The one before it, I've quite a lot of affection for it. It would never be in my top 10. It's not going to be in my bottom 10. Spare Parts, I just can't connect with at all. Never have, never will. Played it again yesterday because it's only fair. I've listened to everything on this list in the last little while. Oh, wow. And what I will say is some of it's damn catchy. It's still garbage though.
I have a compilation that has a good bulk of the material from the first two albums and some of the singles. And I'm not crazy about it. I bought it because Matchstick Man is I kind of like that. But man, most of that stuff, I'm just like, this is just not what I want to hear from this band.
I didn't go to the lengths of bringing everything through because my collection is really ridiculous. And when I first got into the band, if I had Status Quo written on the front, for example, a nice 10-inch fresh quota here with songs that are not anywhere else, this is all right actually, then I bought it. The cover's terrible. They look like stuffed dummies. That does not look like Francis Rossi. That
looks like Meatloaf.
Perfect. Yeah. It's a bizarre shot to have chosen. Really, I mean, it's on, I don't know what label this is on, but it's not official, but they've got the logo. It's a bit confusing. But I bought things like To Be or Not To Be. I mean, that's a knockoff compilation if ever you saw one. A better picture on the front, to be fair. And I brought this one through because I had to read this. Because it says, To Be or Not To Be is the album title chosen by Status Quo. Look at it, they didn't choose this. Okay. Due to the fact that many of these tracks started out as possible A-side releases, but in the final analysis found themselves on the B-side. A choice not easily decided, as you will discover when you hear the music. However, this album is by no means a collection of almost hits. Quo don't work that way. They cut every track like a winner, and like all their work, what we have here is a great record. This is actually quite a decent record. It is deep cuts from the good albums, but I just thought, considering I'm surrounded by really poor stuff, that was quite ironic. But yeah, there's so many compilations of those early albums, and I've got lots of them. And there's also, I mean, I've got a cassette somewhere, hasn't been played for 30 years minimum, of songs that appeared not to be anywhere else. I don't even know where they came from, but it is Quo and you can hear it's them. But it's that era. But of course, they're wearing that on the cover, but they didn't sound anything like that band. There's so much material out there, and I'm not going to say I have it all. I think I do, but some of it's just downright terrible. Some of it's not, but some of it is.
All right, what do we have? Top four?
Top four.
Phew, I know something that's downright terrible. Riffs. Downright terrible. But you were talking previously. That's the jobby. You were talking previously about being so bad that it's good. This album is so bad that it's awesome. It's terrible, but it's awesome. I was listening to it on Friday walking the dog, and I just loved it. I was really enjoying myself, but I was equally thinking, this is shite. This is really bad. But they've taken these classic songs and quoed them up. They didn't need to be quoed up. You know, they really didn't. I Fought the Law, you know, the best known by The Clash. You know, I think that's a relatively definitive version. So the quote, what I think arguably what they've done since the mid-80s is they were whilst they were popular, they thought, do you know what we need to do? We really need to drive ourselves right into the middle of the road. That's what we need to do, and stay in that middle lane. Let's annoy the traffic around us. And this is, you know, born to be wild. I think not. Born to be mild. Absolutely. You know, it's a song about, you know, from Easy Rider, counterculture, Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper. Oh, just bland as anything. But you know, really, I was listening to it and just smiling my brains out. It really was. It just then you choose the world's worst Iggy Pop song. Wild One, Mild One again. You know, it's just like, no. I've never understood why rock bands, and the Outlaws did this, cover Elvis Costello songs. They just don't kind of do it for me. You know, just say. But the absolute centerpiece of this record is Centerfold by the Jake. No, you know. Because you know when Peter Wolf did that, you could kind of imagine him being quite lascivious and like, whoa. Rhino sings this one, and he always comes across to me. I've never met him as just like the nicest bloke in the world, happy, smiley, let's meet the fans and all that. And I just can't imagine him buying Playboy and glopping one off and then finding his girlfriend there. But the absolute brilliant genius / terrible bit is when he's forgiven her and they decide that we'll go to a hotel room. And you can feel the wink coming out of your stereo. Hotel, because we're English, and in the original it's a motel. We don't have motels in the UK. You can just there is a Spinal Tap said a thin line between stupidity and genius, isn't there? There really is, and this record just really kind of like really goes right down the middle of it. And that's before I even think about All Day and All of the Nights. You know, the Davis brothers hated themselves. There was real tension in the music, and the quote took it out and put it in a Ford Mondeo and just drove it straight down the middle of the road. But I really enjoyed listening to it. Really, really enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, the album's got a great title. I mean, riffs. I mean, yes, that should be fantastic. But I got to say, on the record, when will the music industry and rock and roll in general realize that we never, ever, ever need another cover of Born to Be Wild again? Oh, I mean, every freaking band has done a cover of Born to Be Wild. Enough. It's like, no more, please. And I say that, and you know, Ace Frehley will release another covers album next year, and Born to Be Wild will be on that. If he hasn't already done it, he probably has. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's just enough. Anyway,
next.
So, now, normally we don't do covers albums. We don't include them. However, they're so integral to this story that they have to be included in this, because now, bear with me, okay? Because I brought show and tell. I haven't even done all my show and tell. I mean, I've even got a Burning Bridges DJ copy. How sad am I? Okay, it's a terrible song, but there you go. Okay. So I want to go back to what is quite a decent song from the band. I want to go back to The Wanderer, okay? So this came out, I think, post back to back. I think that's where we're at on this. And it's an okay version of a standard. And the video's quite good fun. They're on the back of a truck as it's driven around somewhere with no sun whatsoever. And people are all going, that's the Quo, right? And it's quite good fun. It's quite good fun, okay? But it spawned, and now this is the first CD that I was ever gifted. When I was given a CD player for my Christmas many moons ago, whatever year this album came out. Okay, so this is Rocking All Over the Years, 22 tracks, including all their top 10 hits. But it also includes, okay, the Anniversary Waltz Part 1. So this is all rock and roll standards mashed together in a Quo medley, because Quo, I like a medley. They like to take all of their hits and play little bits of them, not all of them, because that might be your favourite song. So you only want to hear 32 seconds of it when you go see them live. Okay, now that got to number 2. Got to number 2 in the charts, I think in 1990, that got to number 2 in the charts. Okay, so the next logical step is you do another one. Okay, so you do an anniversary waltz part 2. Rock and roll music, Lover Please, that'll be the day, oh, that'll be the it's turgid. I bought it. I helped it get to number 16 in the charts, people. This is all my fault. Okay, it's absolutely turgid. All right. So from there, the record company, when Quo start to falter ever so slightly, go, I know what you guys are good at. You guys are good at covers. You know, that's what you should be doing. You should be doing covers. So we get utter lamentable shit like Famous in the Last Century. Is what we get, because some record label guy has gone, this is what you guys do. You can take it back at the top 20. You can have another top 10 hit. I think they had a top 10 hit every decade from the 60s through to the 2000s. And this was what was meant to continue these runs and all this sort of rubbish. And I brought this through for comparison, you know, cut and paste, great album cover. Okay, and you see the two together and you go from this.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in this. Nobody wants to be doing this utter garbage, you know, and all these faces from the past, and let's not get political here, but anyone that thought putting Margaret Thatcher in this would make people go, oh yeah, Famous in the Last Century, they're all heroes. Okay, somebody's going to disagree, get over yourself. All right, so this is just absolutely terrible. Roll over Beethoven. I mean, Memphis, Tennessee, once bitten, twice shy. I mean, they make Great White sound like utter masterpiece workers. It's it's so bad. It's so lame. It's so. But this is going through the motions. If anything was going through the motions, this is going through the motions. But I will give them an out. And the out is I think that they were being forced to make these albums. I think somebody somewhere was going, Quo doing covers sells. You can't argue with that. Your biggest hit was a cover. You know, Rock All Over the World, that's a cover. You guys are known for doing great covers, and the Housewives love to do the dusting, to do that and do that and do. And idiots like me went out and bought it and went, yes, we like Status Quo doing cover versions.
Most of the sales would have been people doing the shopping, picking up at Asda, thinking, I like the Quo at Tesco, or the supermarkets are available. You know, when the UK had places that you could buy records. You know, and I've just had a brilliant idea, because has Famous in the Last Century ever been reissued?
Yes, I think so.
I think it needs reissuing again, doesn't it? But what it needs, and this is where you come in, my friend, is a hype sticker. Because I know you like a hype sticker, and I then know that you'd go out and buy it, and I think that the hype sticker would say, utter lamentable shit.
By the band you love.
Yeah,
there's got to be a positive spin in there, Simon.
Yeah, so, exactly. You know,
I'm taking full ownership of this, because this here, beautifully titled "Got You Covered." I mean, this is a compilation of the cover albums. I bought this. So to go back to Riffs, Riffs is not in my 10, but Riffs.
You've got a family, haven't you?
I tell everyone that.
Jesus.
Okay, so this is not in my 10, and it's not in my 10 because I actually view Riffs as the album where they went, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to choose real songs by real bands that weren't famous in 1952, you know, and not pretend that we were influenced. Well, they were influenced by all that stuff, but not kind of say, this is where we came from, this is where we're at, this is what we love. And we're going to do things by The Clash. Why? They're going to do Pump It Up by Elvis Costello. I mean, listen to the Wild Hearts do that. Somebody can cover Elvis Costello and get away with it, by the way, because that version's phenomenal. This version is not. But I do honestly think that they were kind of going, we've had enough of this now. We're going to, as you say, you put it on, it's great fun, but it's terrible. The other two are terrible. Terrible. But there you go. Riffs is not in my 10. For that reason, I believe that's them making a stand, putting the flag in the ground. And I'll come to that flag soon, because it's terrible too.
Oh, see what you did there.
The fact that you've got a compilation of the best of the covers albums Tells you all you need to know. That is the record company that's driving this. I mean, that's ridiculous. Jeez. Ugh.
And there's nothing about this that makes it any better than the actual original albums. It's not that they've chosen the best. I mean, there's 20 songs on here. They've just gone, shove them on. How many seconds can I squeeze onto a CD and sell it in Tesco's for £4?
I would imagine what does make it better is that all the songs aren't on there.
For those of you who didn't buy all those great covers albums, here you go. This is all you need to have, right? So we're going to get some money out of you regardless, right?
But it does show us, what the music industry is like. They never got the shit together post Napster and to come up with a business model that works. So we'll just recycle the same crap over and over again.
Yeah.
And people like you're certainly down there where I'm looking at, people like you, my friend, hoover up this stuff. You are exactly, who Marx was talking about with conspicuous consumption. You will buy anything. You are that person.
Yep.
And
I'll take complete ownership of that.
I'm the same with other bands. I really am.
I mean, I'm the sort of guy that has every solo album that Peter Criss has put out because I have this poster behind me. Okay, so yeah, I am that guy because those albums are just, well, not all of them, most of them are worse than most here.
Yep.
Talking of worse, and putting your flag in the ground, my number 3 is In the Army Now. Whoa, In the Army Now. Yeah. I mean, it ticks many core boxes. There's a John David song on there. That's on so many things. Rolling. Yeah, thank you. It's me, my time, Simon time.
I'm sorry, even on Simon time. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Rolling. Oh,
that's a great shot. That's a great shot.
I can wait.
See, here's the band. Here's the guy who care about.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Rolling Home. I mean, if that song got released now with those lyrics, there'd be an absolute Twitter sphere kind of pile on at that point. Yeah. I mean, in your eyes, when I'm dreaming about going to sleep, do it. Stop. Go to sleep. Stop recording now. The production is awful. I loathe and despise the sound of this record. The tunes aren't necessarily brilliant, but they're not that bad, and they don't need to. I mean, I know when the record was made in the 80s, and it just hasn't. It just doesn't carry its sound with it. Sometimes you can listen to songs from the 80s and think, yeah, that's okay. This one just likes to sounded crap then, sounded crap now. Really unforgivably bland. There are no balls on this album whatsoever. None. Zip, diddly squat. And like you, I've been spending most of my time over the last 3 weeks listening to the core albums. I've listened to most of them multiple times, and driving the car, walking around the house, doing everything, walking the dog, you name it. I've been listening to the core. And I can't remember anything about this record, apart from it's not very good. It just really isn't. That said, and this might be unusual, I am prepared to stand up for the title song. I really like it. Oh, yay. Actually, I really, it's interesting, it's different, and it doesn't chugga by any stretch of the imagination. It just shows that they're not the same shit over and over again. It's right. I've never heard the original, but I really like it. And I think when you actually go and see them, at any point since they did this song, it's right good punctuation between the first half and the second half of the set, and bam, off we go again. Yeah, but the rest of it's just bleh. Yeah.
So more about this album now. this is
the floor is yours.
Okay. Now, In the Army, this, as I said in the last show, because of my age, okay, which is no longer young, I got into a lot of these bands at exactly the wrong time. Okay, because the first Quo album that I bought on their release was this one. I was excited because Quo had announced that they were gone. Okay, they were not coming back. It was all finished. It was end of the road. Do you know? So 1986 we're in here. So when they did come back, my brother was kind enough for my Christmas to buy me this beautiful thing. Okay, a nice Quo-shaped picture disc or Q-shaped picture disc with these two nuggets on the back here. Okay, so this is Rolling Home, with a B-side, Lonely, by Rossi and Parfit. There's a theme here, okay? I also bought, in a nice poster sleeve, Red Sky, which I really like, actually. It's a good song. I learned to play the drums to this song, okay? Produced by Dave Edmunds. The album's produced by Pip Williams, but the single's produced by Dave Edmunds, and I really quite like this. And it's got Don't Give Up, but it's just produced by Pip Williams, but I think Mr. Parfit had a hand in that as well. Then they released In the Army Now. I love this song. I know it gets a lot of stick. I really like this song. Okay, so we're 3 singles in, and they're all great. They're all great. Rolling Home, yeah, I mean, you look back at it now, lyrically. Okay, but the 3 singles, they're really good. And they represent the album, not one jot. And then you've got Heartburn on the B-side here, okay? That's a good song, okay? And then they released Dreamin'. Oh. Keyboards galore. This is where it's awful. You've got long-legged girls. Long-legged Linda, that's a different song entirely, okay? It's all right on the B-side, okay? Okay. And every single one of those B-sides is better than the non-single tracks on this album. Every single one of them. And most of them, I think, have Mr. Parfit's involvement. This doesn't, really. You know, he co-wrote Save Me with Rossi. And he co-wrote End of the Line with Patrick. I don't know who that is, I'm sorry to say. And he co-wrote Overdose with Pip Williams. But his best stuff is all on B-sides. It's all been cut out. It's been thrown on the floor. It sounds like Status Quo. This album is lame pop. And the singles, Rolling Home, written by John David. In the Army Now, Boland. Red Sky, John David. Dreamin', Garbage, which is Rossi and Frost. Okay, and Frost is a bit of a problem because he co-writes an awful lot of this era with Francis, and the two of them are, I mean, there's bonus tracks on, I don't remember which reissue, but around this era, when they were going to do a solo kind of album, they are just so bad, it's unbelievable. And it's just all pop, schmaltz, it's awful. And I mean, it's not my number one, okay, but I hate this album because it absolutely burst my bubble. This is probably the only album in the entire list I can tell you I hate, because I loved this band at this stage. And the singles were and are. I mean, that drum breaking In the Army Now, doom, doom, doom. It's, you listen for that, you wait for it, and in the live show, you punch the air to it. It's fantastic. And this is so bad. It's so bad, so bad. I hate it. But the singles are great.
And that was number 3, right?
That was number 3. Yes, well, there's worse to come.
I'm interested. Sometimes you can tell me what you think about that album. I would be interested to know, because I didn't quite get it.
Maybe you left it a little open to, you know.
Yeah, interpretation. Yeah. Oh, Christ, you must love the other two.
Thinking the same thing.
So my number 2, am I right? Is the math good? Number 2, thank God for that. Is Beulah Quo. Don't do it. Just find the record and be very, very quiet.
Oh no, I've not lost it. I thought I'd lost it there. I would have had to buy it again if I'd lost it, of course. But there you go.
That would be insane.
Nice cover.
No. The really, really bad thing about Beulah Quo is that somewhere in there, there's a good EP. Stop it. Focus on me, right? There's somewhere in there is a good EP. There are some good songs on there. But before I get to that,
that's like their Love Beach album by ELP, right? So they're out there getting the sun, the waves.
Well, I think this is all from the film. That's the problem. Is the whole premise is nonsense. Here we go. That's it. There we go. Sorry, Simon. Okay. Status Quo in Beulah Quo. It started with guitars and ended with guns.
Which brings me to my point. Who greenlit this shit as a film? It can only be for money laundering purposes, or a tax evasion. Who thought in 2013, right? Okay, who are we going to get? We're going to get Gaga. We're going to get One Direction. We'll make a film with the Quo. And then we'll get the guy that used to be a heavy in EastEnders that just makes the direct-to-video films. That's what we'll do. And then we'll get John Lovitz. He'll appear in any old shit. What? Have you, I'm assuming we've seen the video for Bill Quo. Why does Rick Parfitt's hair change length all the time? Why? There must be some reason. It's really short at times, and then it's really long.
Because I think he also brought his holiday wig for that one.
Right. Okay. But song-wise, there are some okay songs on it. Go Go Go's, blistering guitar, really, really good guitar. Rhino sings his little heart out on whatever it is. I've just lost the will to live at this point. Never Leave a Friend Behind's pretty good. There's some good stuff, but it does contain 3 of the worst songs in the history of mankind that aren't called Margarita Time. Do you want to go to Mr. Ireland? Whatever you do, don't bother. Give it a complete swerve. Just no. Fiji Time. What the actual sweet God naming Jesus did they think when they were doing that? Just no, please. You used to be so wonderful, and now you're doing that. But the title track, do it. Go on, do it. That's actually better than the record.
Can I read you the little stick on the back here? Bula! ! An informal, friendly hello in Fijian. A heartfelt greeting that literally means life. Bula Quo, hello Quo, enjoy.
That's ridiculous. I've never even heard it.
Please do.
I did look it up, and you can buy the DVD for as little as $6.99. So I feel like you need to watch it. Do you know? I bet it could end up in the Monsters Den. I bet it's that bad. I bet it's an absolute horror of a film. I'm sure it is, but it's pretty much a horror of an album. And just rubbish. Yeah.
Oh my God, I am queuing it up as we speak.
I don't think you do enough reaction videos. I really feel that Beautiful Quo done by Pete could be great.
Oh dear. So is it my number 2? Is that where we're at now?
And it really is a number 2.
It really is a number 2. Yeah. So I felt it would be wrong to put a covers album at number 1, but I mean, please stop. Sorry, don't stop. It is just incredibly shit. I mean, it really is. It's just awful. As Peter says, the logo is there. Okay, is.
Oh, and the drum kit. Okay, yeah.
It's on the kick drum.
Okay, like an afterthought.
But from back here, we are disowning this. Okay. We're not dressed like Quo. We don't look like Quo. And it says at the top, Status Quo 30th anniversary album. This is how they chose to celebrate. It's just, I mean, Simon has stolen my thunder because fun is just shite. It's so awful that it's that I had to listen to it the other day to remind myself that it is that bad. But I mean, you can never tell. I don't know who is that. It was a teenage wedding. I mean, it really does sound, and they look like a wedding band. And that is what it sounds like. It's the sort of thing that you would, you're invited to someone that you don't really know's wedding, and you go along and go, oh, they've got a band, aren't they bad? That's where we're at here. That's how bad this is. It's absolutely terrible. It's half-assed. It's amateur. Williams is involved. I mean, Troy Donockley's on here. I mean, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, does it get back? I mean, Rick does try to actually go, we used to be a rock band, by the way. We actually used to, but there's nothing about this that has any merit whatsoever. Nothing at all. What I will say is, same again, this or Famous in the Last Century, they've been reissued, and the band had written songs around this stage, and they're okay. They're not great, but they're not terrible. Somebody somewhere's going, this is what you need to be doing, guys. 20th anniversary or whatever it was with the anniversary, it was 25. Number 2 in the charts. Fun, fun, fun with the Beach Boys. Awful, absolutely awful. And I've got singles from it too.
Of course you do. The curse is real.
My boy, well done. Yeah. Is it time for number 1?
Yes.
Time for numero uno.
My number 1 is somewhere in your 10, so time to start digging out. Ain't Complaining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I am complaining. I don't know. I think it's the only album I've actually got on vinyl. I couldn't be asked to go upstairs and get it because I knew you would. But nonetheless, I dislike practically everything about this album. Why? Why?
They paid for this not to be in a white bag.
What? Yeah. I mean, the cover is awful. Yeah. Just, the hair is awful. The cover is awful. Look at the wacky funsters. Yeah. And the drummer's got the wrong instrument. Oh, it's hilarious. I ain't complaining. But
that's their like Huey Lewis in the News cover, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Headless guitars and bass. Like,
yeah. Let's start with the title track, which was a big hit single. Yeah, Ain't Complaining. The little bits, it's a very produced record. That's the one. Yeah, where it goes, all right, all the way through. I have no words to describe how much I really, really don't like that. All right. It's not all right. It's just bleh. But as an album, it's a real outlier because it's not a Quo album. It's a Foreigner album, or it's just if this was a British band that were not called Status Quo and they presented this to their record label, they would be told to sod right off over there, write something that sounds vaguely contemporary, and come back in a couple of years. Just again, I loathe the production of it. Don't mind if I do it. Well, it's just like amongst the blandest things of all time. Another Shipwreck is Foreigner, but fronted by. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Williams, everybody.
One for the keyboards at the start of one for them. Just so 1980s. It reminds me of Peter Frampton's Premonition album, which is an album I really like, but in this Quo-based context, just no. And I Know You're Leaving has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. It's just so un-Quo-like. But it does have a John David cover on there. Yay! But it does have super annoying keys. But here's the real reason that Ain't Complaining is number 1 on the list. Burning Bridges. Just hideous. But how so bland. But I think you said last week, the Quo only ever the number 1 hit, didn't they, with Down Down? But but Burning Bridges went to number 1 with Man United, didn't it? If you've got that, I'm just Jesus Christ. You do have that.
I bought this quite recently. I bought this maybe about a year and a half ago because I just didn't have it. And it's not officially a Quo song. Okay? No. The name is not on this. This is a Manchester United football song. This is the only football club song to get to number 1. Okay. And I wrote it down earlier on because I actually listened to this earlier today as well. Okay. There's a lyric in it in the line in the song that goes, because the lyrics are totally different. The lyrics are all about Manchester United. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. And the lyric is, we'll maintain the status quo. We're Man United. Here we go. This is the territory that we're in here. It's so bad. And it does have a video of football players all kind of going, and the Quo appeared in that video for about a nanosecond as that line is sung. And neither of the two of them, as far as I'm aware, have any time for Manchester United whatsoever. Okay. And the two of them are in the video kind of going, People may see this, do you know? So whether they thought, this will never go anywhere. Number one, 2 whole weeks, 16 weeks in the charts, people.
Wow.
I mean, CD even looks like a football.
Oh, geez. Oh, my word. I'm assuming you got it from a pound shop or something like that. And just
it didn't cost very much, put it that way. It didn't cost me very much. I do like the fact that in the top corner, it actually tells me that it's a CD single, as if I was going to, confuse it for a small dog.
But just before I let you unleash your number one, I mean, there is a deluxe version of Ain't Complaining. And deluxe versions, maybe you might listen to the disc 2 and disc 3 maybe once and think, it hasn't added that much. But an album that I already don't like has stuff taken away by the who remembers the monstrosity that was it Running the World?
Mm-hmm.
Running all over the world, because it's for charity, mate, not off. No, just please God, make it stop. Make it stop. Just awful. And yet more perfunctory live versions of stuff, and just geez, and an extended plinky plonkier version of Burning Bridges.
More keyboards, because what that song needed was more.
Yeah, that's very much what the world needed. Yeah.
Well, you made me reveal on your race just a little early, okay? Because we're talking about the worst albums of Status Quo, but there are some really great singles too. Okay, so this is just. There are no redeeming features to this whatsoever. None at all. Zero. Right? Okay. The Anniversary Waltz is not very good. Okay. So what do Quo not have? Well, they don't have a Christmas hit. So this is 2008. Okay. And they have It's Christmas Time. It's not the worst Christmas song you've ever heard. It's not far away though. It's Christmas time, stand up. I can sing it, I played this, I bought it, it's a picture disc. It's actually really naff. It's so bad.
Really?
I mean, the limited, it's like it's handwritten on. Look, there's some small woman was made to do this as a penance for some reason, I don't know, maybe wearing denim for too long. But it does have a live version of Beginning of the End on the back, which is...
How festive.
Better than what's on the front, more than anything else. But then in the same year, this is Scooter versus Status Quo. Okay, so we're in the realms of a kind of what looks like a middle class rap dance act doing the most budget version of Aerosmith and Run DMC that you could possibly ever hate to imagine. Okay, and this is Jump That Rock, Whatever You Want. I mean, it's so bad that the singer, speaker, shouter nonsense of Scooter actually name checks Status Quo in them as they're playing through their guys. But it kind of does have a bit of Whatever You Want in it. So if you wanted to hear Whatever You Want with a dance beat, and a shit dance beat at that, and a bit of rap over the top, then you're an idiot, really. I bought it. I mean, the tracks on this song are the radio edit, because this was played on the radio, the Telecaster Club mix, the extended mix, which is clearly my favourite, the Horg Schmid remix, and the hi-hat song. I don't know if I ever got that far. I don't know if I've ever heard the hi-hat song. I may have to go and listen to the hi-hat song later today. Okay.
But just to interject, weren't Scooter actually popular about 10 years beforehand?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so again,
yeah,
we're late to the party, aren't they?
Yeah, we're jamming and rapping with a band that are now have no presence whatsoever, doing an idea that Aerosmith and Run DMC did 20 years prior to this or something along those lines. I mean, there's even one point early in the video where Scooter are doing it in this room and Status Quo are doing it in this room. Now, thankfully, nobody picks up a microphone stand and breaks through the wall because, well, that would just be Aerosmith and Run DMC. But this is not that song. This is not Walk This Way. This is, it's not even whatever you want. It's definitely what you don't want. This is, to my money, the worst thing that we've spoken about in this entire show. And we don't do singles and things, but sometimes something extra special comes along.
Extra special indeed.
Yeah. So my number one is Thursday Work. Okay, from 1994. This is album number 21, and it's just garbage. There's not a good song on here. I don't like any of it. Going nowhere. I mean, we're also in the era where we've got albums being released on vinyl that were made for CD. So each side here has 8 songs on it. I know that if I take this record out and hold it on one finger, it will bend because the grooves are so packed together that there's no vinyl left. Play side 1, hear bits of side 2. Okay, that's where we're at here, right? You know, but I mean, they did have a hit. It did have a hit. It contains the hit. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Well, they did. They did mean it. Okay, but at least they care about the bag. They care about the bag this time. Each band member has a drink because it's Thursday Work. Okay, so Francis Rossi has. What do you think this is? It's a margarita. Francis has Margarita Time, doesn't he? Clever. There's lots of thought going into this. Rick Parfitt has a white burgundy, if anyone's buying. R.I.P. Rick, much missed. Andrew Bowen has a white wine. He's a cheap date. That's quite good. John Rhino Edwards, he has the bottle of beer that's on the front. And Jeff Rich, well, he has a cup of tea because that would make him a rich tea. There's a UK biscuit joke for you, everybody. All right. But on the back of this, I'll hold it back here and you think, oh, band shots, interesting, okay? But then you realise they're from the video.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Bowen, everybody. Okay. Yeah, and if you think that this is cheesy, the music's worse. The music's much worse. The music's terrible. It's just, I can't find anything good to say about it. I mean, things like Ciao Ciao. I mean, it's not rock music. It's not pop music. It's not music, really. There's nothing here. Queenie. It's a nursery rhyme. Quo fell into this sort of period where everything just seemed to need to go over and over and over. I mean, they're restless, I'm feeling restless. It's the sort of thing that you would find on a 70s romantic sitcom that nobody remembers. It's bad theme tune music. It's just, it's awful. It's absolutely terrible. I hate it. I really.
And you can really tell how pained you are at something like this from a band you love, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll re-emphasize it yet again if you struggle to put it that way. I love Status Quo. I absolutely love Status Quo, and I'm genuinely sorry if we offend people with this, and I'm sure we will one or two. Most of this is meant with a whole load of affection, because there are high points even in some of the low points. There are songs here that I genuinely like. Do you know, Simon mentioned earlier, you can make a good EP out of even Brother Quo, kinda. So, you know,
You can, I'm right.
You can. I can find very few highlights on the covers albums. In the Army Now, I hate because it just blew me out of the water. But that's a terrible record. It's a terrible record. It's a terrible record. There you go. I've not much more to say. I didn't say very much at all, really.
There's nothing to say about that, I guess.
This has been a therapy session for you, hasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Hello, my name's Steven, and I'm a Status Quo fan.
Stephen, welcome.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Some really bad Quo. So we had the good, this is the bad and the ugly. But I think what we can take out of this is that even on some of these bad records, there are some things to recommend. So, and I'm sure there are going to be folks watching who love some of these albums, and that's okay too, right? We may not, or Stephen and Simon may not understand that, but that's, we all hear albums differently, music differently. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think we can all agree that's, and Status Quo are not the only band who have gone down the covers hell road, you know, where it's just, please, no more. It's like, either write some original material. If you can't do that, just call it a day. But yeah, cool.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I think there was outside forces at certain points here, because ironically enough, along the way, when some of this rubbish was coming out, they were actually writing some decent songs. Somehow, an awful lot of it didn't make it on the albums.
Yeah, which is strange. So, cool. All right, so for everybody watching, please put your 10 least favorite Status Quo albums in the comments below. And I want to thank both Stephen and Simon for, once again, delivering the goods here on this fun episode. I was talking to both of them before we went on air, how we started recording this really early this morning, and I wasn't quite awake yet, but I am fully awake now. That's what laughter will do to you, you know. So thanks to both of them, and visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. Check us out on Facebook and on Twitter, but of course we're here on YouTube all the damn time. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you all real soon. Take care.